Once again, a good evening to all students who are waiting to listen to the experts. And let me introduce first to the experts. We have Professor Pradyumna Vyas. He is a very eminent educator, and he is the director of the National Institute of Design, the premier institute of design in the country, located in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And we have with us another very eminent personality, Mr. Kshitiz Anand. He is the vice president of Paytm. He is a design leader and an educator. And I think we have a lot of things to learn from them, and which will give us a way forward in our journey, in our career. The young students, I mean. And myself, I'm Professor Buraguhai. I'm basically a biologist, and I have been teaching for the last 45 years and doing research in biology. All right. So first of all, I would let us begin with Professor Vyas, because we had a brief interaction in the morning as to how to take it forward, and Mr. Anand was not there. What I am plan is like this for this evening, that we will first of all try to first of all understand, or to make the students understand what is design and what is design communication. And because there is a lot of I would say incomplete understanding or distorted perception or no perception at all about what it is. And without understanding, there cannot be appreciation, and without appreciation, there cannot be any motivation to take this as a career path. So therefore, first of all, the first thing first, I would throw the question to Professor Vyas. Would you please kindly explain to our students what is design? What is design communication?
Okay. Thank you, Professor. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. And I always love to talk to students who are looking for their career opportunity. And just to let you know that many of the students from Northeast, they have got admitted in National Institute of Design. And I would say very bright students, very creative students have come from Northeast. Maybe they are very close to nature, and nature is a big teacher for design, because we say that, yes, nature is the biggest designer. So I think we always feel very proud that the students who have joined NID from Northeast have really shined in different areas of economic and social development. Just one correction, Professor, that I have worked in NID for 30 years, 20 years as faculty members and 10 years as director. And I finished my second term in 2019. So now I am on the board of World Design Organization, and I'm not director of NID at the moment. But yes, so major part of my life I have spent at NID, and I was also instrumental in setting up 4 new NIDs in the country. One is in Jorhat, which is in Northeast, and students must know about it. So let me just tell you what I was talking in the morning, that mostly students do know about career in design, but their parents are very apprehensive.
Absolutely, yes.
And their parents are very apprehensive because they see that the career is in engineering and career is in medicine, and they feel more typical, meaning including my father, they felt very safe if the student or their child is going into the engineering. And this has become such a thing that this country started producing 1.6 million engineers in the country. And it really, there was a time that everyone started opening up engineering colleges, and then people started getting into it. And then management started happening. But the focus started shifting in career from technology to management and now to design. And I think parents should get more convinced that this is not very artistic or very what you call textile printing or artwork or that kind of discipline. It is much deeper, it is much analytical, it is much logical, and which requires mostly everywhere. And the way it has gone, I'm from IIT Mumbai, and there was a time when there were only 2 design schools. One was in NID, which started in 1961, another one in IIT Mumbai, which started in 1969. But when as economic development of this country started happening, then an IT boom. And luckily, Mr. Anand is with us, who will agree with me that once this IT boom started happening, the user experience and UI and UX, user interface, it's become such a thing that even people from product design started joining this IT company for UI and UX. And suddenly you see that in job market, design started really taking a very strong leap. And now the condition is that there were only 2 design schools, but I have been told that there are 1,500 design schools in this country, meaning there is a great demand and we don't have supply. Now, coming to the point that what is the design actually and how design education is making you a very complete professional. The design is humanizing technology is design is one of the definition, and contextual use of technology is design. So you see what happens that engineering education or in science technology, we see that we are overemphasizing on technology. If technology is, meaning technology is growing so fast, every day there is a new technology is coming up and people are developing new products and new services and crowding the market with the things which we don't require, and that is really creating problem on our environment because technology allows us, we make it. It's like mobile phone. Every year there is a new model of mobile phone is coming up because technology is allowing us. But I think when sustainability aspect is coming up, the design is started focusing on society, people, environment. And that is the complete education program which talks about the context. So I would like to say that where I have spent 30 years, Professor, there is no textbook in design. There is no examination in design which we did. Why? Because there are project-based, and this is very, very interesting thing that you have been given a problem. That problem could be a small like designing a dustbin on the road, and then you realize that how many important aspects are there to just design a simple dustbin. And people coming from engineering background, and then when they join design, they say, oh my God, we were talking about aeronautics and we are talking about heat engine, and now they are asking us to design a dustbin, what kind of thing? And they realize it is so challenging. It is so challenging to make the decision.
Oh.
And I think that is what the design really make it very, very analytical, very people-centric, very environment-centric. And that's why the new education policy which is come up, which is talking about design thinking and critical thinking. Now, design thinking is nothing but a systems thinking. Anything you design, you take a bird eye view perspective, and you see that holistic, how you are really reaching holistically. So I would say students is that it's a very, very interesting area, learning by doing, learning from the field, working with the society. Sometimes you work in the social sector where the social upliftment is there and you feel very good that in Northeast, there's a lot of bamboo. If I have designed bamboo furniture, a lot of people getting employed in that. If I am designing textile, every house in Northeast has loom. And if we design new product, you see. And then today, because of Internet of Things and because of online marketing, each designer is empowered to have their own enterprise. And that is, I think, many of these people are not going for the job, but they say, okay, even if I am Dibrugarh, if I know that proper paper, handmade paper or the bamboo products are there, I can connect with the world with the internet and I can have my enterprise. In fact, sometimes I feel that it is boon in the difficult terrain of Northeast that the design and the internet can empower so many people with these bright young people who can have amazing. And since I am just continuously talking, I'll stop here for wait for another thing. But I confidently tell all the students and their parents, it is one of the finest, actually, the career line for industry, for governmental, meaning public sector things which we are doing right from the train design to railway station design, to park design, to furniture design, to public space, to getting into the sector specific healthcare, agriculture, education, you name the sectors and design coming into that. And if you really want to get into industry, then the Tata Motors and Titan companies and Paytm and then Wipro and Infosys, thousands of designers are required, and their salary package is at least 10 times more than the engineer which they are getting in. So I am totally convinced that if students apply for design, only thing, Professor, last point is that design, in fact, you have to have a creative bent of mind. It is important that you need to have a creative out-of-box thinking. You should be analytical. You should be able to analytical. It's not artist which we are looking. We are looking the combination of artist and analytical person who has sensibility of aesthetics and who has a little bit analytical way of justifying and rationalizing the answer, because finally you require empathy. You are not designing for yourself like artist. You are designing for people. So the empathy is required, and then that is actually required everywhere. And that is the way I will say it's the incoming future. It's the future which is going to remain for many years, because if any country economically developing, the design come into picture, because people want choices, people want facilities, people want new garments, people want new interiors, furnitures, and you are there to give them. So if you are artistic and analytical mind, that combination is there. This discipline is very good. You are not good in mathematics, no problem. You are not good in biology, you are not good in mathematics, don't worry. If you are not getting a very good marks, just 55% mark, but you are very creative, your design discipline is for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Vyas, for a very important opening remark. And what you said has really given us a deep insight into what design is actually. And as you very rightly say, that you don't have to be, extraordinary scorer in your conventional educations in the CBSE, class 12 and all that. But the point is that we have to remember, both as a parent and as a young student, I think we have to remember that each and every one of us, our young students, they have their own creative faculties. Now they have to simply take it out, explore, and for that exploration, of course, they have to be a little analytical, and what you say, the system thinking is here required, and precisely that is what they're required of to follow a career path in design communication, and so many, almost infinite avenues are available today. And what is very important, as you said, I will go to Mr. Anand for that, because everyone goes for a career path for basically two things: to learn something, to acquire some skill, and then go for a livelihood. And that is what are the prospects of, as you said, that there are ample avenues. You can be richer than a conventional engineer in terms of salary package and all that. But then what you said very importantly is that you don't have to look for a job even. You can have your own entrepreneurship. You can have your own startup. And the country is really now opening up for a very new, vigorous and dynamic startup ecosystem in the country, where there are a lot many other governmental supports in terms of schemes and other things. So I will go back to Professor Vyas again for the nitty-gritties, for the details as to how a young boy or a girl can get into, say, for example, National Institute of Design. Fortunately, we have one in Assam, in Johar. And they would love to know as to how to, place them there eventually. What is the route? But before that, just to trigger their excitement and also the possibilities about the other side, the entrepreneurial ventures, I think this is where we have to focus very importantly with respect to our young students, because I think we have to go for creating jobs through them rather than they are making a beeline for jobs. So over to Mr. Anand. I think you have huge experience being a design leader, an educator, and also being at the helm of affairs of Paytm, a very well-known, the company in the whole country and the world today.
Brand.
Yes, bank. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You just
Thank you
tell
so
us.
much, Professor Vyas. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and of course, always a pleasure to share space with Professor Vyas, and have met him before as well. Huge respect for what he has been doing, and I think so. I come from that. I always say that I got into design purely by accident, right? Like I never intended to be a designer. It just so happened that I think it was July 2021, like almost like 21 years ago. Sorry, July 2001, right? So 21 years ago, and on the day of my counseling, JE counseling, I just got to know that there is only two branches which were open in the IITs. One was IIT Kharagpur Architecture and IIT Guwahati Design, right? And interestingly, not a single batch had graduated from IIT Guwahati there, right? So we were not sure what to make of it, right? The only conviction that I had was, if they have opened up a branch of design at the undergrad in IITs, they must have thought something about it, right? And I remember talking to Professor Nadkarni back then during the counseling, and the other people from IIT Guwahati as well at the IIT Delhi Counseling Center. I mean, that conviction has never been more strong today. Right? Even 20 years later, I just feel that there's a lot more to design today than it was probably earlier, right? Back in the days, of course, it was a lot about product design and mainly, communication design. But today, when you start looking at the application of design, of course, IT and designing technical products, technology-led products is one of the major things which is driving a lot of the design workforce in India. Like at Paytm itself, we have a very big design team. Almost every major tech company that you can think of has now strong design teams, right? And that I feel is the power of design. And one fine day I was just reflecting on this, and I realized that if you think about it, there is no other discipline that touches a person's life more than design, right? You just look around you, right? Like everything there is design, right from the furniture to the dress to the watches you wear to the products you use to the apps you use. Everywhere there's design. And that's just a mind-boggling fact, right? Like there's so much amount of touch points where a designer can make the difference. And every time I feel sometimes, okay, what am I doing with my life, or where is the opportunities that exist for a designer, I realize that there are so many interesting things to do as a designer. One thing is very certain, that you will never get bored of your job, because there is just so many things to do, right? You get bored of working in furniture design, you can always go to interaction design. You get interested in interaction design, you go to space design. There is and because certain principles of design are similar, right? And because that's where when we take line, you talked about NIDs, IITs, the foundation years, which is common across all disciplines of design, where the fact that you actually get to learn from so many other peers, it becomes very interesting. Now when it comes to I think two ways of looking at design as a career, right, which Professor Vyas also talked about. One, of course, as a employee at an organization, huge amount of opportunities, whether it's your startups that you're looking at today. Almost every major startup in India, from the very beginning, within the founding team itself, they all want a designer on board. And that's the power which we have eventually created, right? Because everybody wants it. That's the value that a designer brings into the teams. So ample opportunities there, right? Across different geography locations within India, across around the world as well. And then, of course, the other thing which you talked about, the whole startup ecosystem, finding opportunity to start your own opportunities, right? Start your own ventures as a designer. So one of the ventures that I have started a few years ago is this venture called Suchak, where we basically, in fact, I was really glad to hear Professor Vyas talking about design thinking. And I personally feel that, design thinking really needs to be also inculcated into schools as well. So as a part of our venture, we start to engage with we do a lot of programs with schools, with teachers, they can change their viewpoint. Systems thinking, of course, comes in big time. And I just feel that there is so much to do. And this whole supply demand thing, which again was Sir was talking about, I just feel that we need a lot more people. So I'm really glad that this kind of a seminar is happening for people who can at least think about taking design as a career, right? Now, when it comes to the amount of information out there, because now there is so much information out there about design as a career, I feel. But what I really think it's important is three things, right? One is having the basic knowledge about design, which you would probably, because of your, people prepare for coaching exams, people prepare for NIT exams, people prepare for UCIT exams. So there is the knowledge which you gain. Then you gain some skill set, right? Which is basically that ability to visualize what you're thinking, right? So if you have let's say you want to solve a problem, you are able to visualize it. And the last but most important, I feel, is the aptitude and the attitude towards design, right? The ability to solve a problem, the ability to make a difference in people's life, right? And I'm sure all of you would agree, like the way Paytm has simplified people's lives, right? Like I go to almost every major city in India and I don't carry cash, right? That's how my life has been simplified. And before I had to worry about, going to an ATM, withdrawing money, then there'll be issue of no change available. Today, whether it's have to do a 1 rupee payment or a 20,000 rupees payment, everything happens online. So that's the power that design can bring in, right? I just feel that it's a great time to be a designer. Irrespective of where you are, irrespective of which domain you're looking at, I just think the opportunity is just tremendously out there, right? And we just waiting to be grabbed. And India as a country, I think, is very powerful, right? Because the power of the youth that we have, specifically if you look at Northeast, I stay in Noida, the whole North region that we have, having stayed in Guwahati for 4 years myself, having explored because I studied there as my undergrad, right? I was part of the 4th batch of IIT Guwahati, right? And we're not a single batch I graduated when I joined, so none of us knew what we were up for, but we were all very interested that, hey, because it's a discipline which we feel is very interesting. And you won't believe, but by the 2nd semester itself, I was hooked onto it, and I was like, this is it, right? I'm going to make my career in this entire field. So I just feel that all the signs are there, all the things, the stars are lining. It's just great time to be a designer in the country today.
Thank you, Anand. I think what you have once again emphasized upon is the joy of learning. What Professor Vyas was mentioning, that you learn, the students of design learn through projects, individual projects, different kind of projects, and it's more of an experiential learning, which is a central point of focus in the new national education policy. We have to take the boys and girls out of the classroom so that they can think independently, see the world through their own eyes, and analyze things and come up with something new and novel, which is meaningful, purposeful for any possible different kinds of necessities, maybe social, maybe environmental, maybe our daily mundane things like furniture and watches and whatnot. So I think the students can be tremendously creative about it. I will just give you one example how in design thinking process, as you rightly say, it should be included in the normal education curriculum of irrespective of different subjects. We know that during COVID time, this PCR has become such a common name, the PCR machine. And that was a out of box thinking by Carey Mullis, who got the Nobel Prize way back in 1980s, and he innovated it, he designed it out of his fundamental knowledge of how DNA molecule replicates. And he just thought, can I make it out of it, outside the living cell? And that is how designed the machine. And look at the value, look at the relevance, and look at the utility of this machine now. For so many years down the line. So I think it's basically design thinking. Eventually, it is basically design thinking. So what I would, we have to inculcate the thought process. Design thinking is a philosophy, is a thought process. We have to inculcate it right from their childhood and the different levels of their education. But then, that is our part. We'll have to do it as the teachers. But coming to the students, how do they get into the design career path formally, especially in India? Professor Vyas, how do they prepare and how do they approach? Which institutions?
Yeah. I think Anand has a very pertinent point he mentioned about aptitude for
Right.
design thing, and I think good that he brought that point. You see that we all children, everyone is special. Everyone has creativity. Somebody may have a very mathematical mind and they are working in this direction. Somebody may have a very commerce related mind and they are working it out. And somebody has very, very much artistic, hands-on type of person. So I think one is that just identifying where the parents, teacher and student, they can look into that, whether do I have a right attitude or aptitude, actually aptitude for this course or not. Because we don't want also to be force fit. If suppose somebody is a very good mathematician, they should really find the way in that direction and then look into it. Couple of things for aptitude I will talk about. One is that hands-on, minds-on. The person who enjoy working with hands and want to interact and curious about things all the time. Curiosity is there, that why it is like the children type, that how they want to explore, how want to look into things and trying to analyze. I think that curiosity is very much important to investigate and look into it. Now, sometimes, like I have done, Anand has done undergraduate, I have done postgraduate. When I joined post-graduation, I had to unlearn my engineering, because the engineering education, my mind was put in so much of compartment that there is always yes or no or should not. But when you come into design education, you see that maybe, and you start getting into subjective area where there is no definite answer to it. You will have to explore. And when the student, that's why we say that it's an exploratory nature, it's a process centric. We don't know where we have to go. The end is not defined when you start the journey. And that the process which you go through scientifically, you reach to a logical conclusion, that is the new design. And that is the way I think it happened. Now, but unfortunately, the education post-independence, which was there in this country, or which is now new education policy is dealing with it, it was developed by Britishers, and they wanted workers to work into the factory and all and take order and do things. So the education was very much like that, okay, this is the thing and you do it and this is the way it goes. It doesn't allow you to explore newer possibilities, get into ambiguity and all. The design process and design thinking prepare you to deal with ambiguity. And whether you want to become doctor, whether you want to become scientist, whether you want to go anywhere, we are saying that if don't want to become designer, at least go through design thinking. So in whichever discipline you go, you can deal with ambiguity. The deal with not definite answer which is there, but you will come to the answer which is better than other answers. So that is what we do. So first thing is that aptitude, whether you like to interact with people, whether you are outward, that you want to restless, wanting to know why it is like this, why it is like that. If your temperament is like that, you want to make things at home, you want to repair things at home, you want to fiddle out around things, breaking and making and trying to risk taking some of the failures and not bothered about failures and all, you have a right aptitude. Little bit skills are also important, whether you do sketching, whether you have that computer proficiency and all, with the technology, how you handle it, and that how mind to paper, how you can do that. Those are some of the skills which can be developed, but whether you have that fascination or not, that is important. Now, I tell you, the NID is certainly one school, but there are many design schools, IITs and other private schools have come up. So the examination is not very difficult, but it is not difficult for so many people also. So I think the design education and design career, one thing is that mediocrity doesn't really entertain. You have to be best actually. If you are not very good in this, your subject, if you are not totally passionate about what you are doing, if you are not totally committed, it's not like that in engineering you can become a draftsman and do something. Here, you will be frustrated if suppose you don't have passion to do things. So design and art, they don't entertain mediocrity. So you have to be totally passionate about yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You can do things. Then you are a right material for that. Now, I also want to touch upon, because I am getting this opportunity to talk to a lot of people, that you see today's time, we in a design, we are creative people. Creative people meaning who create something. Everybody creates something, but we create something. And unfortunately, the society, the way things are going, the television, you start that all negative news are there all the time, that this murder, this person, this corruption, all these things you talk about negative things. Unfortunately, unknowingly, parents at home and when their friends come, they also talk negative. Kuch nahi ho raha hai, nothing is happening, where we will go, we are going to do. And the child who is growing in their house is very impressionable age, and he or she is listening these conversations from television and parents. When they go to school or college, the teacher is also talking. Everything is not working. System is now. You see, when we want to become a designer, or we want to take any career as a professional, then we cannot be sitting on the chair and be judgmental. We will have to dirty our hand. So we will have to really make our attitude in such a way that we don't get into that rut which is going on about pessimism, because creativity cannot happen with pessimism. The first quality of student they need to inculcate is optimism. And I think optimism is very important thing. I can do it. We will do it. It is possible. Let us do it. That mindset you come with, not only in design, any profession, if you go, that will certainly work. The discipline has to be there. It is not that you will copy and become designer and then you will do. You will have to really put sincere effort. There is no shortcut in design education because it's completely hands-on. It is not that somebody write on paper and you do it. So that honesty and sincerity will be required, because there are a lot of project-based informations are there. Third thing is that you have to be empathetic with the society. You have to have put your shoes in people's, that what is pinching them. You cannot be again viewing from the outside and seeing that, oh, poor people, we do something. You don't know what they know, what things are. If you have to create something, you will have to go into their feet and try and understand their pinching point, and then empathize with that. Not sympathy, empathize with that. Respectful. You have to be always respectful for the people, and you have to be humble. In design profession, you have to keep your head on your shoulder and not let it fly. Artists may think and have arrogance, but designers cannot have arrogance. So the moment you get overconfidence, the moment you become arrogant, you won't be able to create anything. And I think these are the point. If you bring it in your personality, you can surely become a great professional in design and other areas also. Now coming back to the design, getting into design discipline. As I said, after 12th there is undergraduate program. Anand has discussed about it. Many colleges are offering after 12th 4-year of program. And it has many disciplines: industrial design, communication design, textile apparel design, UI, UX, then experience design and design management. And maybe if you just go through NID website, there are 19 disciplines are there which you can look it into, and other institutes website, IIT and all. You see there are many design disciplines which are there. But the user and environment is all the time on focus actually. And the other thing is the tests are very simple. And there is, I don't really promote coaching, but many of these people are going for coaching. I feel the coaching destroy your originality, but it is becoming that they learn the pattern of the questions which have been asked and people go to the coaching. I will not prescribe it. If you have a talent, you will get in admission. Simple aptitude test which will come in, they are very simple. They can ask a simple question like that this is the pen, other than writing, what are the 5 different uses you can think of? Right. And then there your mind has to work openly, and you should not feel shy that I can scratch my back with this pen, because they will see that it's a creative thinking. At least you solve the problem. And if you say that if I am feeling eating sensation in my ear and I am doing that, maybe miss, I won't say there is yes and no kind of situation, but you see, you will have to think about it. Sometimes they may ask a question that enlarge this pen to 20 times and think about something. So they just want to see that how you really visualize and make things. They may sometimes ask you to draw something, a chair or your room or something. So you need to have a little bit practice in drawing. And drawing is not just making a face. You just, wherever you are sitting, if a dog is sitting, just observe it and draw it. If some cup is writing, observe it. So practice drawing is very important to get into design education. Analytical mind, as you said, that you will have it and do that. So once you clear in NID this written test which is there, Anand will talk about IIT, what is happening in that. Afterwards, there is a studio test for postgraduate program specific to transportation design and other areas to see that what is subject area is there. But in undergraduate program, they may give you some material to see that how then and there you solve the problem. And what is your approach and how fascinating, meaning that you are comfortable with dealing with working with hands and all. And that is the way I think the entire result has been worked out. But seats are very little. So it's not that if you don't get admission in design, NID or so, there are other schools are equally good, better. So you don't have to really just make a point that I have to go to IIT, I have to go to NID. There are so many schools are there. And even if you don't get, you should not, this is not end of the world. There are many career opportunities are coming up. There's always next year to try. So parents, no pressure on children. I would, if they are attending this, please don't put any pressure. Let them be what they want to do it. If they feel like doing design, just allow them to fail, allow them to whatever it is. Don't put any pressure, because children will not be able to perform in creative area if there is a pressure from parents on them to perform and get into it. So there are certain issues which are also connected in with the parents and family, that how we should really prepare them for this education program.
Thank you. Very, very, very important point. Attitudes and all those basic requirements to get into the a career of design. But then I will also like to point out, there are curious questions I can see. I think to my mind, one may not get into a common career course right in the beginning. I might as well join. I might as well become an engineer, an IT expert, and then also I can get into this field of design and come up with lot many things. And there, I think there is also a lot of possibilities. As a biologist, also I can see a lot of possibilities. And it's just a stereotypic thinking that if I take a biology course and I end up becoming a biologist teaching in a college or a university or a scientist in a research institute, I cannot think anything beyond that or out of this. So, but then a biologist can be also an excellent designer, taking into account his or her knowledge about biology. Knowledge, as you said in the beginning, nature is the best teacher of design. This brings to my mind one of the fantastic designers, I'm sure you know about her, the MIT professor, Mary Oxman. Mm-hmm. She is designing for so many years now, taking cues from nature.
Biomimicry is
yes. Biomimicry. So sustainable designing is the in thing.
Biomimicry, yes.
So therefore, I think I would request Anand, can you see that? And also there are other options like a design graduate, design communication graduate might as well go to animation, might as well go to so many other advertising, communication, and so many things. Can you please highlight on these little bit? We have little more time left.
Surely. No, great. I think just to kind of, I think two things that Professor Vyas talked about really well. I also wanted to highlight that. One was, I feel that one of the biggest thing that happens once you become a designer is that you become a curious observer, right? And it's like, once you learn the art of observation and you start to develop this ability to observe, you then don't stop not observing, right? So it's like, always around the areas and empathize with the situations and scenarios and say, okay, I can actually make a difference here because I can probably design this better, right? So I'm at the airport, I have to kill, I just go for a walk and I can identify many places where I feel that, we can probably make a difference. And on the same lines, I feel that, the moment you step out as a designer and see the world around you, you'll realize that there are so many other areas which actually requires a designer's intervention, right? And when you think about things like animation, for example, right? Today, all your products, technology products on television, if you look at any of your ads, if you look at the advertisements that come about, if you look at the movies that come about, VFX, right? Virtual effects having a big market. In fact, the Indian VFX market is slated to grow like phenomenally. Like we are very way behind Bollywood still, Hollywood still. But if you look at the recent years, if movies fascinates people, virtual effects and graphic design fascinates people, animation fascinates people, motion graphics, if it fascinates you, just look at the recent movies that have come about, right? Like you can be mind blown by the amount of graphics capability in these movies these days. And
Right.
it's like at par with the best of the movies in the world, right? And I feel that if you start looking, and what is very interesting trend that I've seen with one of my cousin, he was a character artist in Hyderabad, and he actually went to US, and now he's working in Hollywood. So you are now seeing many people having that as an aspiration, saying that we can actually get there. 20 years ago, probably people didn't have that aspiration because our industry itself has not evolved as much when it comes to design and visual VFX and animations. But today that's no longer the case, and this will just keep growing. So I feel that uh, plus when you start looking at not just English content, like vernacular content, why should we should not get good quality content when we are sitting in Northeast, right? Why can't we have good quality content in Assamese, for example, right? Why does all good content have to be in English only? And India has an opportunity. Just imagine, like your amazing movies that, if you look at the, for example, the Telugu movie industry, the Kannada movie industry, the Tamil movie industry, they are really well advanced because they really take a lot of pride in their own language. They take pride in their own culture, and they really make stuff for them. So I just feel that it's just about starting it. The opportunities are amazing, beyond just when you look at a phone, right? Like there's an app that you design. This I feel is very, sometimes gets limiting as well. So I often say, like, get out of the phone, right? Get out of the app world, and start observing things around you, and you'll realize that whether it's getting inspired through biomimicry from nature, or getting inspired by the cultures that we are part of, the rich culture that we as Indians can be so proud of, the fact that we have people with lots of energy, the fact that there are so many problems to solve, because Professor Vyas talked about design being hugely influential today in social design and creating. So I actually run a non-profit organization itself, which is purely entirely based on design thinking, right? We work with school children, we work with teachers, we work with community members, upskilling them. And I feel that the possibility is just phenomenally there, right? Just a question of going out there. And thankfully, the last point which I just wanted to make is that today there are a lot more platforms for seeking mentorship, guidance, and asking questions than it was ever before, right? Like, for example, just a platform like this, right? Like, who would have thought that 20 years ago, Professor Vyas, myself, and you would be here sitting and addressing students in Northeast via Zoom, right? So it's, those boundaries have blurred now. We have more access to people whom we can reach out to, right? And I think that's something which I always see people from, when I talk to students, don't hesitate to reach out to people, right? Start to reach out to people, and I'm sure you'll find guidance. The more you reach out, the more people will be out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just
Yeah.
Professor, 1 minute. I just want to add on, because Anand has really opened up, and we need a lot of other session altogether, because we were not talking about what he started. Actually, the entire animation area, entire virtual reality, augmented reality, so much technology now is being utilized by designers to create the complete experience, actually. And museums and all, there is so much this augmented reality, virtual reality, and all the special effects which are happening, which is opening up. So good, the point which Anand has brought in, but I think this 45 minutes is very short time. You may have to also, we will be happy to come again to talk to students if they have a question. But good, Anand, you brought
Absolutely.
There's so much of opportunities coming.
So I think, I think what Anand said, and you reiterated, is that we have been becoming so mechanical and robotic with the technology and all that. Now design people, they are humanizing technologies.
Humanizing it, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. They are humanizing augmented reality so that we can really relate to what augmented reality, virtual reality is. And there are infinite opportunities for creativity. Creativity does not have any boundary. So I think with that note, I would thank both of you. And I'm sure the students have benefited. Not too many questions. I think they listen to us. And definitely those, whatever they have learned from this discourse today will be really bringing in good change in their career options. Thank you once again very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep
Thank
in
you
touch
so
and
much.
Keep in touch, Anand. Let us connect.
Yes, yes, we will connect, sir. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor. Yeah,
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. We'll leave now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.